different night. Penn State goes into a height matchup against a big-time opponent and just doesn't get the job done. Kyle Fatman, Golik, Joe Smeltzer, Nitty Sports Now, live from Beaver Stadium following Penn State's 30-24 double overtime loss to the Oregon Ducks here. Kyle, I've been thinking 2014, that was James Franklin's first season, way before either one of us was on the beat. Penn State had an Ohio State team that ended up being pretty good, won the national championship, and it was really a similar type of game to tonight, right? Ohio State got ahead, I think it was 17-0. Penn State got the Anthony Zettel pick six, really ignited that team. They end up forcing overtime, grabbing the lead in the first overtime, lose by almost the identical score, 31-24 compared to 30-24. Similar situation, right? Whiteout environment, night game, big-time opponent, but the big difference is that was year one under James Franklin, when you could lose a close game to a team like Ohio State or Oregon and not have the fan base disgruntled. Now it is year 12. Things are a little different, and the feeling after a loss like this is really a lot different.
Very much is, Joe. And the thing with that game is the game ended when Joey Bosa treated Donovan Smith like a turnstile and sacked Christian Hackenberg. Drew Aller didn't give us a shot in the second overtime, very first throw. Because think about it, Joe. They had scored on that touchdown in the first overtime to go 24-24. Then Dante Moore found Gary Bryant Jr. on a 25-yard touchdown pass on the very next play. So we really didn't see an opportunity for Penn State to respond. And Aller all night, there's a combination where I felt the offensive line really wasn't playing as well, giving them enough protection. But for the most part, Drew really wasn't getting it done once again in a major moment.
And it seems to be all psychological, and I hate to make an assumption like that, but think about it, the whole game, the offense just doesn't get into any rhythm, and then once Oregon goes ahead 17-3, fans are chanting "Fire Franklin," and it looks like Penn State's getting buried. Drew Aller starts to play very well. Hits Devontae Ross with an absolute dime for a touchdown that gets Penn State back in the game. Ends up taking advantage of the short field to tie the game. But once things got close again, once it looked like Penn State had a shot again, Aller didn't get it done. It really is hard to explain, because it feels like every Saturday we see flashes of the five-star in high school, of the guy that's been very good for the most part in college, of the guy that many people feel could be the #1 overall pick in next year's draft, but the final product just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, and like you were alluding to, Joe, the Devontae Ross 35-yard touchdown strike, that's about as good of a throw as you can make. The interception he threw to end the game was about as bad of a throw you can make. Early in the game, I believe it was in the first quarter there, Drew completed an 8-yard loss to Devontae Ross. There was so much open in the middle of the field. I don't know if Drew's reading what is out there for him to take advantage of. And it's very perplexing. I really don't like how Penn State's leveraging Trevor Pena.
Accidental baseball reference.
For good old Bucco fans. But like I said, here's a guy who a season ago had led the ACC in receptions, great in the slot. I haven't seen any slot play with Pena this year. Have you, Joe?
I haven't seen too much of it. We'll have to look on PFF to see how much he's been using the slot, but no, that hasn't really been there.
No, and to me, Joe, the other thing, and I didn't get a chance to get to Dawkins tonight. He had 2 procedure penalties, which is absolutely killer for an offensive lineman. But the other thing that was horrible tonight, on 8 first down plays, Joe, tonight, Penn State either had no gain or had a negative play, which, puts you behind schedule. So it's hard to beat up on Kotelnicki whenever he's behind schedule trying to figure it out. Think about that Nick Singleton third down conversion early in the game when he had literal Herculean effort. Think about, and this is where I talk to guys, if Singleton has that same effort, say on a 3rd and 2, where the ball's more advanced on the field, there's more momentum building at that point. Going into the fourth quarter, Joe, Penn State had 109 total yards of offense. I started writing my recap, I was about to say, this is one of the more pitiful performances. Gladly, they turned it up in the fourth quarter in the first overtime, but there's still a lot to be desired with this offense against a legitimate opponent.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up here because I want to save a lot of stuff for the next episode of Joe and the Fatman, which should be more interesting than usual because Penn State doesn't lose very often. But we'll wrap with our final takeaways. My final takeaway is that this team is good enough to beat Indiana. I can't see it beating Ohio State. And the reason I'm using that is that when it was 17-3, I was thinking, I don't think this team's going to beat Indiana at all. But now, at the end of the game, makes me at least feel confident that this team is going to make it to the college football playoff. And this defense still can play with any team in the country.
So my final takeaway, guys, is Dan Lanning and Will Stein in their proverbial chess match with Jim Knowles added a new wrinkle tonight. And we'll talk about this on Joe and the Fatman. Unofficially tonight, guys, Oregon went for it 8 times on 4th down. That's irregular. And he started the game with it in negative territory doing it. That's how bold Lanning was and how confident he was in the defense. So you start doing that. Knowles, did really well on 3rd down, getting into 4th down situations, but Oregon had a scheme tonight where they were saying, Joe, we're playing all 4 downs. We're going to leave it all out in the field, and that's how they're going back to Eugene, winners.
Penn State, things get a little easier the next few weeks, right? You got a pitiful UCLA team on the road next week. You have a scrappy but still Northwestern team coming to Beaver Stadium for homecoming in 2 weeks. Then things get a little interesting again at Iowa. But until then, we'll have a lot more from Beaver Stadium. We'll have a lot more throughout the weekend. Follow my Twitter account at Joe Smeltzer 775. Kyle's at Kyle Golik FB.
Yep.
Hey, I finally got it. And of course, Nittany Sports Now at Nittany SN, and the site Nittany Sports Now on Facebook, Nittany Sports Now. That's all from Beaver Stadium. Not so happy Valley tonight. The Lions sweeps tonight. Oregon 30, Penn State 24 to overtime.